When you hear the Teamsters, you think of Jimmy Hoffa. Well, today we're going to talk about it because I got a Teamster guy here who is not involved, but it is a historic personality when it comes to working class. My name is Chris Swanson, Sheriff of Genesee County, candidate for governor, the working class candidate, and welcome to the Working Class Podcast. My guest today is a working class leader, Dan Glass. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know it's going to be exciting because we match energy. He's the real deal. So welcome to the podcast. It's the Working Class Man. Tell us about the Teamsters. Tell us about your involvement and what it means to be the president of a local.
Teamsters, just to give you the Cliff Notes version of it, formed in 1903 on an international level. Peaked well over 2 million at one point during the early days. Obviously, everybody's heard of Jimmy Hoffa. Single-handedly brought the biggest movement into the middle class in the 50s and 60s with the National Freight Agreement. And it's extended through there. You know, there's 350 plus Teamster locals throughout the country. Wow. And I happen to be the fortunate job of being the president of one of the oldest locals. Yeah, 332 here in Flint, Michigan, chartered in 1933. Yeah. You know, the old saying with Teamsters is we have everything from airline pilots to zookeepers, man. So our particular local here in Flint represents about 1,200 healthcare workers throughout the McLaren, Henry Ford, Genesis.
And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's a lot of activity going on with the healthcare workers and nurses.
Yeah, and Teamsters in general, you know, we've had a resurgence under General President Sean O'Brien, who took over 4 years ago and has just reignited the flame in organized labor. And quite frankly, is the strongest union leader in the country, without a doubt. And that's no disrespect to anybody else, but this guy's out there walking the lines every day and got the Teamsters back where we need to be, and that's growing again.
So when you talk about a general president, for the people that are not involved with organized labor, whether it's building trades or Teamsters or UW, they're all set up a little different. But there's only one general president. So explain the structure from the local to the general president.
Yeah, so international headquarters in Washington, D.C., overlooking the White House, overlooking the Capitol there. And they have a general executive board, which is laid out like a lot of our local unions. You have a president, secretary, treasurer, a bunch of regional vice presidents at large, and trustees. And they are the foundation of the international. And then we're autonomous throughout the locals in the country. But we have every resource we need from the international down if we need it, from media relations to legal assistance to strike assistance, you know, human relations, anything that is needed, human rights, all that we use our international for. But they are the governing body that handles stuff on an international level. But our locals are set up individually with 7 executive board members, and we run the affairs of our local, you know, day to day, week to week.
Do the members vote for the general president?
Yep, one member, one vote. Been that way forever.
And the members vote for you?
Yes,
your local.
100%.
That's the way it should be.
Yep, no appointed positions inside of the.
You gotta earn it.
Yeah, there's appointed positions from the international when they say, hey, this guy's really good at, or this female's really good at this job. We're going to make them a healthcare director or make them part of our package division. But the people that make these decisions from top down, from the general president of the international all the way down through the president of your own local, is voted on by the members.
When I first met him, he was here at the Teamster strike for the Genesis Henry Ford nurses. I walk up, you introduced me, and I said, the only guy who's willing to get in a fight in the Senate.
Oh, yeah.
And throw a punch at the Senate floor, if you remember that back in the day.
Yep. You know, and those two, listen, they had their differents. Yeah. And I think Sean O'Brien, our general president, would tell you that they were different then, but they've mended that bridge. And that's the great thing about him as a leader. He hasn't, and it's come with some restraint from a lot of our members, but he is not willing to pigeonhole our international, our members into one party. It's, if any party can help us bipartisan, we need that help, right? And he understands that there is a bridge that needs to be gapped for these groups.
It's funny you bring that up because we have a common friend, Will Miller from the operators.
Yep.
And he taught me that, you know, it's always policy over party, people over policy.
Absolutely.
Always. And that makes sense no matter where. Because you have members that are Republican, Democrat, Independent. You have members that don't even vote, but they're still the membership.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter to me. Like, I try to pride myself personally and locally. We try to do it as much as possible to support the people, regardless of party, that have supported us. You know, we have, whether we want, you know, Grand Blanc Township Supervisor, Scott Bennett. He's a guy that I've had no problem throwing my support behind because he takes care of our Mterra Waste members. Yeah. You know, he prides on having them. Mike Mueller down in Fenton, where I'm at, another strong supporter of labor, did a lot for unions that could
That's right.
could have caused some
Right.
problems, right?
Dude, I remember when the right to work vote was up, and he was the lone Republican that said, I promised this when I was running because I'm a working class dude. And he voted. And I remember they were surrounding his car, and he was just like, what? And he stood his ground, and he was a man of his word.
He'll always
you don't forget that, do you?
No, absolutely not. He'll always have my support. John Cherry here in town, Jim Ananick, these guys have been amazing. There's so many on both sides, right?
Yeah.
Like, that if they
How about that Swanson guy?
Swanson? Well, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that one of us in the room here was one of the first to come out and say, I think not only is the sheriff of Genesee County, what the job that you've done been amazing. I don't think there's a better person to do exactly what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
Bridge that gap between parties and put the state of Michigan back to the people.
Right.
I think that's why, that's 100% why I got behind you early on.
Man.
And,
He did too.
It's there's just all you got to do for anybody out there that has anything to say, get to know the man. Get to know him
Thanks,
first.
brother.
You know what? He backs it up.
Yeah.
There's never been a thing he's told me that's been a lie. It's not. He's got a big personality. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean there's anything not real about it. So
Do you also get that tag where like, there's no way that Dan's like that? He's always excited, always energetic.
Yeah, I mean, nobody likes to
His hair
use
sticks
the
up.
used car
That's all we got.
salesman. Yeah,
That's all we got.
Nobody likes the used car salesman thing, but you hear it once in a while. But
Yeah.
no, I'm just like the same way, man. You get to know me, you know that what I say is my word, man, and that's what it is, right? Like it or not, it's just I'm not gonna back up on something that I believe in.
Without a doubt, man. When we talk the word solidarity, we hear it a lot. What does that word solidarity mean to you?
That's a great question. To me, it's family. It's solidarity is you lay down your differences when you walk into a door of an employer, right? And you become a Teamster union member. That's the foundation of solidarity. You start with that. You lay down sex, race, religion. None of that matters. You are an employee at an employer who is a union member, and you grow together. That's your work family. And what you're doing, each person is doing for each other is what makes the solidarity grow, what makes your union stronger. Our nurses on the strike line, that solidarity has done nothing but grow since September 1st because they're starting to lay down any problems they may have had with each other, and they're, learning who they are, getting to meet people they haven't met. And it does create a solid group, solidarity, and the strength you'll never break that strength once they start with that.
So I think it's important. Like I call them their synonyms, solidarity, loyalty, family. When you talk about the nurses strike here, wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast in Grand Blanc, Michigan, which is, part of Genesee County on the 1st of September, over 800 nurses walked out from their job. Most people think, if they don't know, it's they want more money, but that's not the real reason they walked out. Of course, honor the contract, but I think it's stunning when you tell people why your nurses walked out and what was the vote to walk out. That was even more captivating.
Yeah, so roughly around 750 RNs and case managers inside the building. But the contract that we received from Henry Ford on August 4th or 5th, I can't remember now which date, but we voted it on August 20th, and it was voted down by 93%. And with that no vote came the understanding that we were going to walk out on September 1st, Labor Day. And I chose that day for a reason.
Right.
It's a day that we're supposed to recognize labor and not force them out of a building. But the reason that contract got voted down and will continue to be voted down is the union principle that Henry Ford is trying to take from us. Right. They're trying to erode a contract that's 28 years old. And most importantly, the number one reason is we have ratios in our contract, which is a nurse in a specific unit has these standards that are put out from nursing specialty organizations that say, I'm just throwing numbers out. ICU, you should have this many patients per nurse.
1-to-1, 1-to-2.
Whatever it looks like, right? Yep. And what Henry Ford doesn't want to do is put a commitment in that language that says they will honor those ratios. They will post open jobs. They will hire. They will do everything they can to recruit and retain and give the nurses the opportunity to do the job that they were trained for within the scope of practice that they deserve.
And those are demands that are for the people. Regardless of who's out there, if you're a patient of a hospital, you want the best nurse with the most attention to your loved one. I was talking to people on the strike line. One lady's been on 38 years, and the day she walked out, she had a 1-to-11 patient ratio. Yeah. She said, I literally went to some of my patients and said, I'm not going to see you for the rest of the shift, Here's my card. If you need anything, let me know.
No, I mean that really did balloon over the last 6 months, especially in what they call our med surge units, where you have 10 or 11 patients to one nurse. And if you think about that, right, it's you, it's me, a loved one's in there, and you get to see your nurse once in an hour because they've got 10 or 11 other patients.
Right.
Where's the care going, right?
Right.
You know, I put a video out, a week or two ago about the racket that I personally believe healthcare is, from insurance on down to the hospitals themselves, to where I'm paying money for this service and the hospital doesn't want to reinvest in giving me that quality service. And that's all we're asking them to do. We're asking them to commit to the ratios that would ultimately make their standard of care much higher,
Right.
which allows for them to be accredited in different things and get more reimbursements
Yeah,
from insurance
everybody
companies.
wins.
Yeah, it's a absolute true
And
statement.
what's your theory you put out? I saw it.
Well, which part
About
of it?
paying insurance companies
Well-
that are connected to the hospital.
Well, when Henry Ford owns HAP, the third largest insurance provider in the country, and they're charging our members every paycheck to have HAP, and then taking the money they make off HAP, making our members use Henry Ford, and then making money off the hospital services, and then they're taking those profits and pushing our members out the door. It is a white-collar crime syndicate, as their general president would say, and it's not right for any of us, because at the end of the day, these big corporations start controlling everything and there's no competition.
Yeah.
And so what happens? They can all sit there. Henry Ford and Corwell, I can never prove it. They all know what they're paying each other. They all know what's going on, right? So they keep trying to level that market down in Detroit and then push it up here.
Yeah.
And they're too big for these industries.
When people out there hear the word strike, you give up a lot to go on the strike line as an employee. What did these nurses give up? And then what's the benefit of striking?
Well, I mean, ultimately, the first thing that they gave up, and Henry Ford right away said, well, we're cutting your insurance off, right? So, sorry, employee, RN, not only is your insurance cut off, your family's insurance is gone now, right?
So
Your
since
children's.
September 1st, which is, we're recording this in the middle of November, they've had no insurance.
No insurance.
And they still have family that have diabetes and high blood pressure and kids that need to go to the doctor.
Yep, they've had to seek alternate routes, whether it's through Cobra, trying to find avenues on the marketplace, trying to pick up. We do have a lot that were able to jump on their spouse's insurance, but not the majority.
Not everybody.
No, absolutely not. Not even the majority. But
So they gave up health care.
Gave up healthcare. They gave up. They gave up. In essence, they walked out. They gave up the bond they've built with the patients too.
Yeah.
They have patients in there they care about.
Yeah.
But at some point, they all looked at each other and said, in order for us to give our patients the care and take care of them, we have to do this.
See, that's benevolence right there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a lot of the strikes that we see. They're involving manufacturing. They're involving a service. This is about people in human lives.
Yeah, 100%. It's they get into nursing because they like that aspect of the caregiving, right? And then to have to walk away from a job that you've been on for 20 or 30 years because you feel so beat down by an employer that won't recognize what you've done. They don't want to take care and give you the opportunity to be a good nurse. And to have to walk out on that, it's emotional for them. It's tough. It's nobody's first option. Strike, it's never anybody's first option, but we were left with no choice. Our members, I gave the members the opportunity. I said, listen, I would never endorse a contract like this, and I put it out there from day one. We do not endorse this contract, but ultimately you're the ones that decide. You guys are the ones that are, have to make the next move if that's what you want. When 93% of 750 say, hell yeah, we're walking out, that's where we're at.
They want to send a message.
They have to.
And I've walked the line plenty of times. They're getting stronger as the days go longer.
Yeah, every day. The group we have now is dug in, not going to move. They're out there. They've understood. They've dealt with the weather conditions. They've gotten worse. They've been through rain. They've been through snow, been through 85-degree weather. I mean, at this point, they know how to handle it, and they're willing to handle it.
How many people drive by do you think support versus not support, if you had to take a wild guess?
I mean, I would say the overwhelming overwhelming majority.
Yeah.
We get a couple guys,
Right.
that give us the one finger salute and stuff
Right.
like that. But outside of that, the amount of community support, and I underestimated, probably how big of an impact our nurses have made. Grand Blanc and the surrounding communities, whether it's Davis and
Right.
Flushing, Fenton, Linden, have been amazing. I mean, every single day somebody's dropping something off,
that crazy?
saying thank you. Patients are coming out that have had some of our nurses and reconnecting with them.
Yeah.
we had that, unfortunate incident at the Latter-day Saints,
Yep.
right? The church. And, our members went down there and helped that out. And within a week, we had one of the doctors that was, unfortunately, a victim in there that he stopped back out, thanked the nurses. One of the other victims who was inside and had to, put their kid out the window to hand to grandma, they stopped out. And that stuff right there alone just shows you what the community values our nurses, you know, and what they think of them. And they laid down a strike sign to go help, right? They tried to go into the hospital, and it just, what that says about what they really, what they're doing for their job.
It prioritizes their needs are not nearly important as other people's needs. And I saw it live too on that day, the 28th. I saw them, and they wanted to get in there, work the ER, and said, hey, whatever we can do, we'll figure out the rest later. When you are looking at nurses, and we're going to switch topics in a minute. I became a medic when I was 20 years old, and all of my training and treatment and all the patients that I take in, the first stop is a nurse.
Yeah.
And what I try to tell people when we're addressing a strike is it doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not, whether you're labor or not. Everybody they have to recognize that we've all had some interaction with nurses. If you were born, you had an interaction with a nurse. They are the backbone of healthcare. And so I think it is going to get solved. It's just a matter of time. And I know that you can't predict, but I think you're closer today than you were yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that too. I believe, the community support. I do think Henry Ford, they made in my opinion, a really, really horrendous business decision. They had to reduce beds. They've had to pay exorbitant amounts for travel nurses to come in. They are paying high fees for labor attorneys that do not have the best interest, quite frankly, of the employer or the obviously the members, right? These law firms make money on dragging these out and doing the most egregious things to get the unions to push back on it. But the business decision, at some point, they're going to have to come to us and say, all right, we need a deal done. We are getting towards the holiday season. Travel nurses aren't looking to come to Michigan. Our nurses are built Michigan tough.
Right.
Travel nurses aren't, buddy. They work all year to take the month of December off. They don't want to go to Michigan. They want to go to Florida. They want to go to California where there's a strike going on.
Yeah.
So they're going to run into some real problems here, with staffing. And we need that, quite frankly. We've dug in, and they got to come to us and say, hey, listen, you and I talked. You made a great point. Henry Ford has a chance to settle this.
And be the hero.
They could be the hero. They could come back to us and say, you know what? We understand the differences. You guys, but we recognize it. Let's come together and see if we can solve this and move forward again.
And if there's a problem on the nurse side, negotiate it.
Yeah.
If there's something you don't like, that's why you sit at the table. Yeah. But being at an impasse doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, well, we're not at impasse. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's a novice term.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's an actual another term for that. Yeah.
No, they like to.
If we're not in an agreement, that's a better word.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, they still don't want to move towards us on the core issues with ratios being the priority.
Yeah.
But they're going to. We're going to get them there. There's no doubt in my mind about it. I'm with you. I think we're closer to the end than the beginning.
When you hear people talk about picket lines, there's a saying on your hoodie right now: is Teamsters don't cross picket lines. Why is that so important? Why'd you wear it today?
Because it is really, quite frankly, it is kind of the benchmark saying of being a Teamster, and you'll hear it from Sean O'Brien all the way down through our local. Teamsters don't cross picket lines.
No matter who's striking.
If it's a legally sanctioned strike, we don't cross. UPS won't deliver to the shops if the UAW is out on strike, right? We don't deliver. UPS isn't delivering to the hospital right now. None of our guys. Any Teamster that faces a picket line turns it around and brings it back. We don't cross picket lines.
So getting onto the broader picture of, you mentioned UPS, you see those brown trucks. I think there's probably a lot of people don't realize that those are Teamsters. You guys represent the majority of people that move goods throughout this country. Anything that's hauling something is probably a Teamster if they're organized. Is that fair to say?
Well, specifically the UPS stuff, right? There's 340,000 UPS Teamsters in the nation. We don't have the freight that we used to due to the NAFTA, and it opening up and allowing we got rid of, unfortunately, we started losing groups out of that National Master Freight Agreement 30 years ago, and it's just dwindled down to ABF being the biggest one. But when you're looking at, yes, to your point, you don't realize, not everybody realizes that your Coke products that are being dropped off, those are Teamsters, specifically in Flint.
Yeah.
Our Keurig Dr. Pepper, our 7-Up guys. Those are my Teamsters.
What about beer and spirits?
JPO, John P. Sullivan, right here in Grand Blanc.
Yep.
Just got the launch of Yingling, if you're watching this, coming in bottles in February. And I like to promote that because, quite frankly,
He does it right.
John P. Sullivan is, yes, and Sean and Joni, that Sean Butler and Joni O'Sullivan that run it, they're great people. We've had our issues from time to time, but at the end of the day, they take care of their warehouse. They take care of their drivers.
Isn't that why there's labor? Is just treat your employees fair, with dignity and a living wage, and you're fine.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I would put those beer guys up against anybody in the state, man. Those guys come in and work for them because he does compensate them well. He takes care of them. He's got a new building for them. He keeps their equipment up and running.
Right.
There's no issues with anything breaking down.
But Dan, when you hear people talk about, unions only, take care of the 10% who are lazy and it doesn't do anything, and that's the only reason why they're there. That's not the case at all.
Listen, there's not one union that wants anybody that's not going to be productive too. Listen, I promote it this way. You got to show up. If you're going to be a Teamster, you're going to wear our brand. You're going to be the best worker this employer has, because when we're efficient and we're doing well by our employer and our employer's taking care of us, it makes our job of negotiating the next contract that much easier, right? Our employers have to make money too. It's how this works.
So wait a sec. You're telling me if you have a member that's causing a problem, that you would actually go to him and say, "What are you doing? You're hurting all of us."
Oh, and you try to, absolutely. You try to explain to them, like, hey, listen, this is not how the job works, right? You have to show up to work, or you got to be, you can't. You got to be safer with what you're doing. You can't cause liability to yourself, or your coworkers, or the employer, right? I mean, it's just, there's nothing wrong with if you want to see accountability, come out to our strike line. You'll see accountability right now. Our RNs hold each other accountable on what's going on out there, and that's how we need to be at every workplace. The Teamsters aren't in there to take care of the lazy employee or the one that doesn't show up. Listen, when you're in a union contract, the employer has an obligation to do the job the right way too when it comes to handling those type of situations. And if they don't do the right job, I'm obligated under our contract and the rules under the National Labor Relations Act to protect that member. Yeah. And so it's
due process.
Due process. Everybody deserves chances. I have no problem with a second chance, but this idea that we're only here to take care of the lazy worker is just false, man. Teamsters want the strongest workforce out there, and that's not just Local 332. That's the entire. If you look at our general president, you look at our these guys outwork everybody. That's the model
standard
that we're going after. Absolutely, the standard. Those are the leaders you need. Is somebody that's willing to put in 24/7 too.
So what we're talking about when it comes to labor, it's there's a term out there called organized labor. There's a lot of people who don't either participate, they've never been part of organized labor. How does organized labor lift all employees when it comes to collective bargaining, strike, fair wages, for somebody who's never ever been a part of a labor group?
So, let's just take UPS for example, right? And that's a national contract. It's big. It's great benefits, great compensation. But when we have a contract like that, those competitors like the FedExes and not DHL, they're union too. The FedExes that aren't organized, they have to raise their standards. Right? They don't want to get organized, so they bring it up.
And they don't want to lose people to UPS.
Exactly. So when you have a waste company like Republic or Emterra that are organized, the non-unions, the GFL, the priorities, they have to keep raising their standards. So all them that, I don't like unions, well, you better look at your paycheck and thank a union for where you're at right now. Because the non-union, they don't want to get organized. So does that mean they go right up to the standard of the union contract? No, but they get it close enough to where it does unfortunately make it harder for us to organize. But it does. The rising tide raises all ships, right?
That's it,
it's
man.
the truth.
That's it. So. And I think a lot of people need to realize that, because once you have a fair wage and you're able to spend money, where do you think that money goes into a local community?
Exactly.
All those businesses out there, all those car washes, all the restaurants that people are trying to, make a living at, it supports small businesses.
Yep.
And it's not just for one group. It's labor all across the board.
Yeah. No, I mean, people spend money in their communities. Yeah. And you got some. It still blows my mind if you go out to Davison or down to Fenton, like they're not stopping putting restaurants in. There's no shortage of places to eat or go have fun or, travel sports that kids are playing. And that's because you have good wages. You're able to do this stuff. And that does, like you just said, goes right back into the community, goes back into your tax base in the county that you live in.
When you think of, when you think about the Teamsters, you see horses. I always joke about on those Labor Day parades, man, I want to see a team of horses.
Oh, yeah. I still owe you that.
You do, man. It's been 2 years. 2026, we're going to have them horses, I bet. Why?
You know what? Let me go right now. I will get you the horses for the Labor Day parade in 2026.
Starts at Bristol and Van Slyke and Flint. You won't be disappointed.
Yep.
And we're growing like crazy, and it's all labor come together. Bring your families. It's legit. It really is.
It was. Yeah. Unfortunately, we were busy walking out on Labor Day, but the 2024 parade, you know, for starting it that year, it was fantastic.
It was, man.
It was great.
It's perfect. So we're gonna have it bigger and better. But why the traditional horses?
Well, again, I go back to, so they were officially chartered, the International, in 1903. And back then, obviously, before automation, it was horsemen, right?
Yeah.
Teamsters. And that's what they were called. They teamed their horses up, and that's how you delivered your water, your milk, your ice. You know, anything that was delivered was using a team of horses. So Teamsters, Thunder and Lightning, you know, the wheel and the two horses. And we had some really good plays. One of the locals in the state, 337, you know, has played it up to make the horses look more aggressive.
Yeah.
And it's a cool emblem. And, you know, I say it all the time. This is what I told Henry Ford the first time I met them. I envision a day where that emblem is going to be right next to Henry Ford Genesis up here. You know, like you drive by the shops and you see the UAW logo next to GM. I want that with this hospital. You know, I don't want to, let's not fight. Let's come together and turn it into the nicest hospital north of Detroit, rest of the state.
You become a force multiplier.
Yeah, 100%.
And then others will see not only patient care go up, but you see fair wages. You see a staff that's willing to work their guts out for it like they always do, but for the right things. I know that things are happening and it's going to happen quick. I feel, you know, I'm empathetic to those nurses that are out there. I try to get there as many times as possible. When it comes to your local, how long you been on the job?
I took over as president in 2023, January 1. I worked there previously from 2015 to 2019. I've been a career UPSer since 94, 31-year Teamster this year, but took over in the president's role in 2023.
Why?
So from 15 to 19, I was working there as what we call a business agent. I was an executive board on or a member of the executive board, but just didn't like the direction we were going. It was just, we didn't have the solidarity that we're building now. It was a hard job to have. I didn't like, you know, necessarily working for the people that were there. And so went back on the truck, waited 3 years, and then put together a team that, and moved this local in a new direction when we had an opportunity, and that's what we did, and that's where we're at.
And people didn't see it coming, did they?
No, they didn't. Nobody saw it coming.
Not even the day before.
There's a couple ways to do it, and I had this was on my mind from day one. When I went back on the truck in mid-June of 2019, and there was hardly a day went by that I didn't think about how I was going to come back into this side of labor and try to instill my beliefs in what we should be doing and how we organize and how we represent our members. And that was really the biggest thing is we ran our idea, or what we ran on, was members first. You know, that was our slate name.
People.
We didn't even need the slate. It was, we ended up having no competition when we made our move. But I wanted to put it back to the members.
Right.
You know, there was too many times where my years working there where it felt like you were in a situation where you were trying to sell a contract. And you don't want to do that. You just want to be honest with them. Tell them, hey, I don't know if it's that good. This is the best I think you can get without a labor dispute, right? Mm-hmm. And not being told this is all you're going to get, take it or leave it. And there was a lot of members that didn't like that.
Right.
And they didn't like that interaction. And I don't disagree with them. They pay a membership fee just like you do at at the gym, right? And if you don't have the opportunity to use that membership, what good is it? Yeah. You know, and so they have to have that right. I still, trust me, it's not like everybody agrees with everything I do, but I want them to know, and I think if you asked them, they would definitely, our members, majority would say, you know, it does feel like Teamsters Local 332 is back, right?
Yeah.
There's still work to do. I still have a long ways to go in this process to be able to get out and touch every member like I want to. You know, unfortunately, you run into things like what we're going through right now at the hospital, which just absorbs all your time. But so many more things I want to do with this local and grow it. I want to increase the membership. I want to be involved in the community a lot more. You know, get back out to doing scholarship funds.
You did the Voices for Children. Remember, you brought toys over there last year. You guys were at the Christmas Spectacular. Yeah. You're always giving back to people. We did a toy drive at the hall. I mean, you're doing it.
Yeah, and those are the things, like I said, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So you do it one year, and it's hard to, I have to learn to follow through better. I have to learn to be more scheduled, more regiment when it comes to that stuff. Because there is, when you see what some of the locals around the area do, not just Teamsters, but building trades, I want to get Teamsters back to that.
Right.
Where every year, this is going to be the biggest event Teamsters is going to have, right? And I really envy our building trades, like, and we may lean into that, but I do believe this is the strongest building trades.
Yeah.
The GLS trades is the strongest in the state.
Yeah.
These guys in Detroit can come up and we can arm wrestle about it if we have to. Who
That's
cares?
right. That's
whatever.
right.
But those guys do an amazing job, and me getting the opportunity to do the old Newsboys with them at Linden or at Linden and Pearson Road. I look forward to it every year, man, to stand out there. How many people pull up and say, old Newsboys helped me when I was younger.
I know.
And I would never have gotten involved with that if it wasn't for sitting at the table with the trades guys and learning how they do things, right? And then moving forward and try to take what you learn there and use it in your own local.
See, that's what I'm talking about, that solidarity, loyalty, family. It goes across labor groups, because when you're handing out toys or gifts, you're not taking a questionnaire. Hold on, are you a labor member family? Have you paid your dues? You're like, if there's a need, we're going to go take care of it.
Yeah.
And the alliance that we've created, the GLS in this community is called the Genesee Lapeer Shiawassee Labor Alliance. So it's all the building trades, all the unions together. And then we created an alliance, a subgroup of that about 3.5 years ago. And it'll actually be 4 years this year.
Yep.
And a labor alliance has a different flavor, a different reason behind it, because there's a lot of people who want to identify as being supportive of labor, but then as soon as they get elected, they don't answer your phone calls. They don't make decisions that think, where's the working class in this decision? Where's the right thing? Who's going to actually be affected on this? Why is that labor alliance that we put together so strong? And what message does it send to people?
Well, I mean, it starts with the leadership, right? And that thing doesn't come to life without you and David Layton, right? And that never happens if you don't get it going. And that's, so it starts with that. And to actually look at the labor groups and have a sheriff come to us and say, I want your opinion. I want to know what you guys are doing. What can we do? That just reinstills confidence in us. And, it goes from day one to 4 years from now, and it's never been stronger.
Right.
We come together. I mean, this Labor Day parade doesn't happen without that labor alliance. Right? The stuff that we do together. And when you're out there in the community and you see somebody from that labor alliance, you got a friend.
Boom.
And then we're bouncing ideas off each other, right? Yeah. Then we're building relationships with, I wouldn't have been able to connect with McLaren and Hurley on the
AFSCME
the
side.
RN side, AFSCME side, if it wasn't for that labor alliance. I wouldn't be able to.
And who walked the line with you? With the Teamsters.
All of them.
That's right.
I mean, all of them.
It's crazy.
It's this labor alliance there's not one of them on that labor alliance that hasn't been out multiple times or offered financial support or gave me a giant fat cat to fly, and just provide any and everything we've needed for that. And that's, we don't, if you don't start that 4 years ago and Teamsters don't get involved in it, we don't have it.
That's right. And I'm going to tell you, and no disrespect to anybody else, but it wouldn't happen without you being there at the helm, as the Teamsters 332, because I've seen the transition.
Yeah.
The fact that you left as being a business manager back to the truck to get a game plan to put it all on the line in order to take it a new direction. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I came in, no disrespect to the previous 39 sheriffs, but I knew I was going to go that direction and we're going to do these things. Things happen that I didn't expect. George Floyd, COVID, all the other things, but when people see results, that's what shows success. Is I may not see his vision or her vision, but I believe in what they're doing. Let time roll out, and then this is what you get. So Teamsters is the strongest it's been in my generation for 33 years, and it's because of you, man. Congrats. That's leadership.
No, I appreciate that. And you and I, when we first talked, and this was great. I called. This was we were getting ready to do a informational picket out in front of the hospital.
Yeah.
And so I was calling Grand Blanc. I called you guys, and you actually picked the phone up.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I got you. And then you're like, hey man, what went on with Teamsters all these years? And I was just like, listen, it's a new direction.
That's
man.
right.
It's a new direction.
That's right.
It was the involvement, before me, and there was, again, no disrespect to the previous leader.
Yeah.
There were times where the previous leader was very, very good, but things, when people start looking at their own priorities and their own gains versus what this role is about, no different than being a sheriff or a governor, it's not about the next step, right? It's about making sure you get to the next day with your people that are supposed to support you.
Yeah.
If we're not listening, we're not learning,
Yeah.
right? And so I had previous leadership that there was some great qualities that I took from it. There was qualities that I think could have been better. And if you don't adapt to those and move forward, then you're not doing anything to change anything. Right. So that you got to take that and go with it too. But
well, you did it, brother. And if anybody's out there listening, go back to what Teddy Roosevelt said. Just you could either sit outside and do nothing, or you can get in the ring and just kind of get muddy and scarred up and be able to say, at least I tried.
Yep.
And in this case, you're doing it. We talk about a lot of great things, man. We talk about things that are very patriotic. Labor, to me, and solidarity, that is all part of the patriotic movement, that no party owns the flag. No party owns the working class. No party owns law and order, law enforcement. But we've been able to bring people together you wouldn't normally bring together. And when I talk about unity, and that word unity, I see it live. I've seen it with labor groups. I've seen it with racial groups. I've seen it with a lot of groups. When I talk about unity, what does that mean to you, and how powerful is it?
Oh, boy, that's a great one, too. Unity, to me, when you're unified, when you have unity, when you have a common goal, that the strength in numbers becomes unstoppable at that point, right? Like when you are unified, like you are with solidarity, you have one avenue you're looking at, right? And that avenue could be, hey, we're just taking care of families, right?
Yeah.
Or if we don't build our middle class back up, if we don't get unified and fight back against corporate America and fight back against the politicians that don't have our best interests, we're going to keep getting pushed down. We haven't gained anything. What have we gained in the last 10 years?
Right.
You know what I mean? Besides more debt. A lot of people are behind.
And more division.
Right. And we have no unity. Like,
right.
We're not unified.
Is it possible?
Yeah.
I think so.
I do too, man.
Yeah.
I do.
We saw it on Miller Road.
Yeah.
I should have been the last person they listened to, a white sheriff telling everybody, hey, walk this way.
Yep. No, 100%. All it takes is somebody like yourself, right, that is willing to step out there and say, you know what? You follow me, I'll lead us in the right direction.
Yeah.
This is the plan we're going to do. This is what it's going to take. And it's not, like you just said, it is not a party issue.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with that. It's about what's right. If we're just doing the right thing and moving forward every day, then that builds unity. And people see leaders rise from that and say, you know what, we can follow that person.
Yeah. Listen, as we close out, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions about you personally. That's why I connect with Dan. There's a lot of people that I have a lot of inroads with, but there's certain ones you just click with, man. And so you sharpen me. The Bible says iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron.
And that's where I'm at, man. And there's times that you will check me on things, and you'll call me up and say, I like this, or what about this? And I appreciate that. I want you to know that. I want the people to know you got to have somebody in your hand, in your circle. That's a 3 o'clock lug nut friend.
Yep.
If you need a lug nut at 3 o'clock in the morning, that they're going to drive that there to you. And I value those friendships, so I appreciate that.
Well, and I reach out for you with the same thing. I think we feed off each other great that way. There's a lot of things that I will run it by you and say, hey, how does this sound? What does this look like? Who owns the milk and the cow?
Right. There you go.
But inside joke. But
that's right. That's right.
No, you're 100% right, man.
Yeah.
You surround yourself with good people, good things happen.
That's right.
It's just that simple, right? You got to get away from the people that make you undisciplined or make you do things that you're not normally going to do, right? Make you put you in situations that you shouldn't be in, right? I'm a father with 3 kids. I have to think about the role model that I am for them kids. That's why I bring my youngest son out on the strike line every weekend, because I want him to see what we're out here doing. He likes to feel a sense of accomplishment being with dad, and my daughters, they've been out there multiple times too, but they're 14 and 12 and travel sports, and they have this entertaining this idea of having boyfriends, which we're going to talk about that later.
Hey, you got a sheriff. If anything happens, man,
wait until I tell you who my oldest went to homecoming with.
We'll take care of that.
Yeah, Mr. Bukalski's child. Son.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
From 598?
598.
All right.
So it's labor meeting labor,
okay,
buddy.
there you go.
That's what I told her. I said, man, he's got to be a good kid if his dad's a UAW guy.
That's right. That's right. That's out. That's great. Here's some rapid fire questions. Number 1, why are you a coach for your kids' sports?
I mean, I'm just going to say it. I think especially for females, I think young women need strong male leaders. I don't think they get it as much. They need to have somebody. What I've seen working in the Teamsters, and there's a lot inside of Teamsters still where it feels like a good old boys network. And our current leadership in DC has completely changed that. You know what I mean? They have female vice presidents. We have a lot of strong women Teamsters leading strong divisions. But I think that my 14-year-old daughter, who I do travel softball for, those young ladies need to understand they can do anything. They are not, they don't have to be told this is all you can do or this is only thing you'll ever be.
Yeah.
They need to have the ability to have somebody tell them you can be better, you will be better, you can do anything you want. And that's what I want from these, my girls is I like being there, keeping them uplifted. This is a tough time in their lives at 13, 14, 15. And I want them to always have somebody that's got their best interests. And not that this isn't to say anybody else doesn't. I just believe that as a leader, I can lead these young women to give them the opportunity to do whatever they want. Maybe there'll be one of these girls that wants to be a Teamster president someday, and I would love to see it. Absolutely.
I love it. What's your favorite movie of all time?
Boy. Well, I've probably cried to Remember the Titans more times than I should, but you can edit that out. Guys,
No, that's going in.
Yeah, that's going in.
A Teamster that cries,
I mean,
that's going in.
The Untouchables was always one of my favorites. I don't watch movies like I used to. It's funny. That's a great question. I watched a lot of movies 15, 20 years ago.
Life is busier.
Yeah, but there's a lot of great ones out there. I mean, there's a lot of things you can take from movies like Gladiator and some of those and use them every day, man. So
anything with Mel Gibson and you can take a lesson from. Denzel Washington.
Oh, Denzel, yeah, absolutely.
Tom Hanks.
If I could just do some of the moves he does in Equalizer, I'd be fine. If
That's
I could
right. That's
grab
right.
somebody right here and in their hand and make them beg for forgiveness, But
that's beautiful, man. What's your favorite, if you could go to any concert that's ever out there, what would be the band that you would see?
I always respected his voice, and I thought his music. I'd love to see Elton John maybe 10 years ago. You know what I mean? I thought Elton John was amazing. I've been to some not a ton. I was never a huge music guy, but I saw. Well, Elton John would be if I had to do it again because I've seen him once. I saw. Not Elton, but I saw AC/DC at Ford Field the last time they played in Michigan, probably 10 or 15 years ago.
Oh wow.
It was the greatest concert I've ever been to in my life. So no offense to Elton, but if I had to choose, I might have to choose that AC/DC again because what Angus did up there on stage for 2 hours at 70 years old and alcohol flowing through his veins, he never sweated, he never cramped, nothing. The dude just kept moving.
And he's still doing it.
Yeah, they're awesome. It was so much. And what was great about that was maybe it was 15 years ago or whatever it was, 10 years ago. But you had 70, 80-year-old people.
Oh, I bet.
To 18-year-old kids. And to see that the music that I grew up with, listening to my dad play, they have these young kids that love it, it was awesome. And everybody was rocking out, man. It was a great time, great concert. I redact my Elton John statement. I'm going with AC/DC for the win, baby.
Yeah, well, you get to do that. It's your story. If you could eat any food out there, what would it be? What's your favorite food?
My mom's stuffing.
Oh, really?
100%.
It's coming out in a week?
Yeah, well, there's this thing, whether it's stuffing or dressing.
Is that raisins in it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Man.
My
Pork
mom
sausage,
does. Oh.
rye bread, whatever it does them, it's the best thing.
It's coming. It's happening in 10 days.
Yeah, if that's my last meal, that's what I'm eating.
That's it.
It better be happening. I'm going to my cousin's, so my mom I already put an order in. I told my mom, bring me stuffing.
That's beautiful, man. Last two questions. When it comes to, and these are more business political part, but when it comes to your friend Chris Swanson running for governor, I never forget. And when you came out and said Local 332 for Swanson on the 6th of February, 2025, it sent a message to me. We become friends. Why is this so important to you as it is to me?
Well, I think first and foremost to have a local friend, a local sheriff, somebody from Genesee County, Flint, Michigan area that really I believe is kind of the underrated backbone of this state, right? We don't have representation over there from the middle of the state like we need to. So that's one of the priorities. The second priority was you've never lied to me. Never once have you told me anything that hasn't been true, hasn't been the great advice, and never once have wavered from the person that you are. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what I hear people, I see it all the time. Doesn't matter. It's not true. What I see with you is 100% truth. Meet you for 1 minute, believe in your journey, right? Yeah. You have strong people around you. That's another very important thing, right? When I have other labor unions who know a hell of a lot more about politics than I do, are telling me this is why, and then I start looking into them, mm-hmm. It's 100% the reason I'm behind you. There's this, no doubt it won't waver. It's not going to have to waver because we're going to win the primary, and then it's going to be a walkthrough to the governorship.
Solidarity, baby, solidarity. And this is your way to end it, man. I'm just thankful that people tuned into the Working Class podcast with my friend Dan Glass. but you get to sign us off with a word, a statement that if you could have everybody's attention in America for 30 seconds, this is what you would tell them. Your kids are watching, your locals are watching, your mom's watching while she's making stuffing, and everybody stops to hear 30 seconds from Dan Glass. What would be your message to them?
Well, I'd first say thank you for giving me the opportunity to get 30 seconds in front of the entire American population, right? But I would say that we have to support working class people. If you have people, if nurses are outside on a picket line, there's something going wrong on the inside, right? Without middle class, without working people, nobody else survives, right? We are feeding these corporate machines that are then turning their back on us, and we have to stop it. Healthcare has got to change. There needs to be government oversight. And when it comes to politics, take the party out of it, get to meet the person. And that's one of the biggest things I would say. I'm so sick and tired of political divide based on just party. People checking a box because of a D or an R. None of that should matter. I've been a split ticket voter my entire career. I'm going to continue to do it because I want to support the people that support me. And this, again, why I'm doing this podcast is because I have a man sitting across from me that does support labor, does support what I do, supports his community. People don't have to like it, but understand he's doing the right thing. And that's what we got to do every day as humans. Do the right thing. Keep moving forward.
Who are we?
Teamsters, baby.
And that's the Working Class Podcast.